love because we are a family out here. And so that's what grace is all about, giving family grace. And so, y'all doing good? How is school going? Is school going well? Y'all ready for Thanksgiving break? It's coming. Just a couple more weeks. Thanksgiving break. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. So tonight, what we're going to be doing, we're kicking off a brand new series. Y'all like that video, by the way? It was a pretty good video. Like, it kind of scared me a little bit. Like, that was more scary than the music was more scary than our Halloween series. But I don't understand that, but I don't know, the music got to me. But how to move on, it's pretty self-explanatory. So the next couple weeks, what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about how to move on from brokenness, how to move on from depression, from suicide, when bad things just happen to you for no apparent reason. We're going to be unpacking all that and see, has anybody ever asked the question when something goes wrong, God, where in the world are you? What are you doing through all this? What is your purpose? Anybody ever asked that question? We're going to kind of be exploring what that looks like over the next couple weeks. As well, but before we get in there, I know we're a little girl heavy, but girls can like Star Wars too. Are there any Star Wars fans in the room tonight? Yeah? Boy, no, you don't like Star Wars? Taj, you're not my favorite in the room, sorry. You love Star Wars? Yes. Like Star Wars is probably my all-time. Kai, you don't like Star Wars?
No.
Zach, you like Star Wars? No? All right, well, we need to pray for some of our leadership in this room because Star Wars is one of the greatest series of movies ever made. Shh, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about the new ones. That's different. So, I grew up watching what we call the prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3. Those are the movies I grew up with. If the older people in the room grew up with the original trilogy, the 4, 5, and 6. They were made first, but it's out of order because that made no sense. I don't know why he did it that way, but he did. And so everyone who likes the older movies, the original trilogy, hates on the people who love the prequels. But I grew up with the prequels, and I love them. They're my movies. I'm going to defend them. So anyone who likes the episodes 1, 2, and 3 knows that episode 3 is like king of the Star Wars movies. Out of every single one of them, that is like the best one. And so we've got two characters in there, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. Y'all heard those names, right? I know you've heard of those names. Yep. And so what happens was, spoiler alert, Anakin has a bad day, he kills everyone he knows, and then he turns into Darth Vader. That's pretty much how it goes. Obi-Wan Kenobi is like his best friend, his mentor, his teacher even tries to go after him. It's crazy. He had a really bad day one day. And so basically what happened was Anakin had a little bit of trauma going on in his life. In the second movie, his mom died. So as you can imagine, that's hard. All right, when mama dies, that can be really hard. But he didn't really deal with that properly. He kind of just let that bubble up and fester. Then he gets married, and there's some things that happen that come between he and his wife. And so that kind of he gets angry with that. There's a little bit of anger there that he lets fester up. He doesn't deal with it. And then the people he works with, that he's closest with, start sending him to spy on people he knows and loves and trusts. And so there's a whole lot of anger and resentment going on. And the bad guy, the Emperor, takes advantage of this and turns Anakin over to the dark side. And then at the end of the movie, there's an epic lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and they fight, and a lot of hot lava and stuff like that blowing up. It's really, really cool. If you like fight scenes, go look it up on YouTube. It's great. And then how it ends is Obi-Wan chops off Anakin's legs and arms, as normal fights happen. That's how it happens. And it's over. Game over. Anakin catches on fire, and then he turns into Darth Vader. That's Star Wars for you in a nutshell. Crash course right there. Avery, what the heck does Star Wars have to do with anything? Well, we're going to be talking a lot about dealing with anger, dealing with pain, dealing with resentment. The reason Anakin's life went crazy and he ended up getting his arms chopped off and he's burned in a hot lake of lava is because his anger, his resentment, all of that kind of boiled over. He didn't handle that properly. And so I don't want you guys to be consumed by hey, if you got questions or anything, I'll answer them after the service. So if you got notes or something, write your questions down, and I'll be more than happy to answer them after the message, if that's okay. And so, number one, I don't want you guys. Well, first of all, when we have issues come our way, we don't have lightsabers to chop people's legs off and make ourselves feel better. That would be cool if we did. I would kick all y'all's butts with a lightsaber, no doubt. But also, more importantly, number two, I don't want you guys to feel like this character did, where he got consumed by anger, consumed by resentment, because that's really, really, really toxic for your heart, really toxic for your life, and you have a really just negative, pessimistic point of view. And so tonight I want to give you guys 3 phases. We're going to be real quick tonight, but 3 phases of moving on to go through so you guys don't have to deal with this as badly as some other people do. Is that cool? So before we get into our story and get into God's word, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father God, God, we love you. We believe in you. God, thank you for all the blessings that are in our life. God, I pray just as we've been praying over this message and the other pastors are preparing it, God, we know your Spirit is going to be moving through this message tonight. And so, God, I pray over every single heart that's in this room, from the youngest of students to the oldest of volunteers. God, that our hearts are attentive, are open, our minds are cleared and focused on you so that we don't miss what you have to say to us tonight. God, I pray against distractions and that your words are spoken through me. These aren't my own. And I pray all these things in Jesus' name. The island said? Amen. Amen. So if you have your Bibles, you can turn to Acts chapter 15. We're going to be looking at a story in verses 36 through 41. We're going to be looking at two guys named Paul and Barnabas. Everybody say Paul. Paul. You guys know Paul, right? He was a guy who used to be called Saul. He killed a bunch of Christians. Did not like us one bit. On his way to Damascus, Jesus blinded him and said, hey, cut it out and give your life to me. That's the Avery Bell translation. And what happened was Saul said, all right, I heard you may be blind. I'm going to go with you. Give me my eyes back. And so that's what happens. He gets his eyesight back. He gives his life to Jesus. And as a result, he changed his life from his name from Saul to Paul to represent his new life. And he became one of the greatest missionaries that ever was, planting hundreds and hundreds of churches. We probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the work of Paul. Who Barnabas is. Barnabas, after Paul got saved, a lot of the early Christians were kind of nervous because Paul was killing Christians. And so it's like, oh, this is a trick. He's going to deceive us. He's going to arrest us, all this. Barnabas was like, no, I knew him before, and I see him after God did this work in his life. Night-day difference that only Jesus could do. This guy is for real when he says he's on our side now. And so Paul and Barnabas are tight. They're like that. And so that's the preface to the story we're going to read right now in verse 36. After some time, Paul said to Barnabas, let's go back and visit each city where we previously preached the word of the Lord to see how the new believers are doing. Barnabas agreed and wanted to take along John Mark, but Paul disagreed strongly since John Mark had deserted them in Pamphylia and had not continued with them in their work. Their disagreement was so sharp that they separated. Barnabas took John Mark with him and sailed for Cyprus. Paul chose Silas, and as he left, the believers entrusted him to the Lord's gracious care. Then he traveled throughout Syria and Cilicia, strengthening the churches there. So like I said, Paul and Barnabas, we're going to be breaking this down all night. Paul and Barnabas are like best friends. They are through everything together. They're going through everything together. They're on this missionary journey, planting churches, leading people to Christ. And then all of a sudden they have a little bit of a disagreement. Now the Bible words it as Paul disagreeing strongly with Barnabas. So on paper, that's like, okay, it's like they got into an argument and moving through it. No, that's like Bible code for like, over my dead body is John Mark coming on this trip. Heck no, he is not coming. He abandoned us on this other trip, and I am not having him come ruin this other trip. Who the heck is John Mark? You guys know the Gospel of Mark in your Bibles? This is the same person who wrote the Gospel of Mark. That's John Mark. And so, like he said, he deserted him. Paul didn't want him. But the catch is why Barnabas was like, no, we got to bring John Mark. It's because they're cousins, so they're family. So Barnabas was like, yeah, I'm going to bring my cousin with me. And so when I was reading this, I was kind of like, this is like a mini soap opera. Like, this is a Christian version of a small town drama movie happening right now, where you take somebody else off, and then the whole town's like divided, and then they make a movie, and then there's like a rain scene where everybody comes back together, real dramatic. That's what's happening right here in the Bible, okay? That's kind of the situation where we're in. And they end up fighting, and they end up separating despite how close friends they are. They couldn't even agree to disagree. They separate and go their other ways. Does that ever happen to you guys? You guys ever been with a friend, close friend, and you guys get in an argument, and you're like, all right, you know what? If I say one more word to you, it will be the last thing you ever hear. I'm going to stab you, and we're going to move on. I'm going to get some space. Like, you ever had that kind of a fight with your friend? Like, I'm going to punch you in your throat, and you're going to apologize to me. Like, that kind of argument. A little bit, what happened, but you're going to get a little bit of space, right? Disclaimer, a little unfortunate news here. We can't always do that with our parents. You know, when our parents come after us, we got to be honorable and respectful. As much as I want to run out and punch my dad in the throat, you just can't do that. That's not right. Also, my dad will kick my butt too, so I might get a good hit on him, but then I will die as a result of that. So you can't really do that with your parents. So you have all this stuff going on. What exactly do you do? I'm glad you asked. And so I'm going to take us through 3 different phases, like I said. So the first phase, it's more of like a realization more than something physical that you actually do. So phase 1 is you got to realize people aren't perfect, so neither are relationships. People aren't perfect, neither are your relationships. I hate to break it to you, bad news, you're not perfect. Newsflash, Noah, you're not perfect. I know you think otherwise. Your parents aren't perfect. I know we know that. Parents aren't perfect. Your best friend, your boyfriend, girlfriend. It might shock some of you here. I know you guys think otherwise. I'm not even perfect. And you guys are agreeing way too much over there. Usually when I say that, there's like a gasp of disbelief. So let's try that one more time, guys. Let's try that one more time. I know you may think otherwise, but I'm not perfect. Yes, I know. I just shattered some of your worlds. It's okay. Thank you guys for indulging me a little bit. So Avery, that's pretty bold. How do you know I'm not perfect? Well, the Bible tells us. Romans 3:23 says that for all have sinned, all have messed up, all have made mistakes, and we all fall short of God's glorious standard. We have all fallen short of the glory of God. So because people aren't perfect, we can't expect our relationships, whether that's with your boyfriend or girlfriend, this works with your friends, this works with your family, your coaches, all kinds of relationships this applies to. If the people aren't perfect, you're not going to have the perfect relationship. I know social media has like all these great couples that we follow, even in the Christian world, these great Christian couples that are out there, and they're like on these trips, and everything's so happy-go-lucky, everything's so bliss, the world is great. That's not the real world, guys. Social media is a highlight reel. It is a highlight reel. You don't see all the grind that they went through to get on that vacation that they just took on. You don't see the big fight that they just had the day before they posted this picture. Oh, we're so glad God brought it. It's a highlight reel. It's fake. And what happens is we see it and we compare our lives to it, and it gives us anxiety, it gives us depression, because we feel like our lives don't measure up to what we're seeing other people to. And it's just a highlight reel. Y'all follow me? Anybody relate to that? So, y'all remember last week how I told you guys my phone said I'm spending 6 hours on social media, and I cried a little bit like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, measure how much you're on there. I took it completely off my phone, and like I didn't know what to do with myself, but I feel happier, I feel more productive, because once I took it away, I could actually find something that made myself feel better about myself and do something productive. So encourage, if that's your struggle, I'm right there with you. Let's do something about it. Don't walk in here in one way and not leave changed, not walk away with some sort of action step you can walk away from to make your life better. Y'all with me? Yeah. And so I know I'm like, okay, I've kind of had a bad day, like I'm already kind of down as it is, and you're really just bringing me down, telling me how bad it was. No. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but I am trying to bring us into reality. Because once we're there, once we're in reality, we can make our next step to becoming, to fixing the issue, next step in the right direction. Go with me? So the reason I say that is because if we keep expecting perfection in our relationships, you're going to end up perfectly alone. Did y'all catch that? If you continue to expect perfection out of people, you're going to end up alone, because nobody's going to be able to hold up to your standard. No one's going to want to be around you. Does that make sense? And some of the pain, some of the hurt that we've experienced in our lives, in our rest with our friends, is because we've held people to such a high standard that they couldn't match up to it, and we can't even match up to it. And that's not fair, and that's not how God intended this to be. Because we all fall short of the glory of God each and every single day. Now, this isn't a cop-out hearing it. All you people say, oh, so we can't do good, so I'm just going to, scale through, fly by. It's not a cop-out to being a jerk or slacking off with your friends or with being a good boyfriend or girlfriend. That's not what that means. But what that means, hearing that, is that in the midst of all that brokenness, there is hope for us broken people. Amen? There's hope for us. And that person's name is Jesus. Hope has a name. His name is Jesus. And we serve a God that is making all things new, y'all. Not just certain things, not just some things he wants and some things he doesn't. No, God is making all, say that with me, all things new. All things new. And as Christians, we're called to go and love the people of this world because they're broken and they need that hope just as much as we do. We're set apart by the world when we accept Christ because we have that hope. We can start that healing and that restoration. And because God loved us, we go and love others. That's so important to Jesus, guys. Somebody asked him in the New Testament, one of the Pharisees asked him and said, what is the greatest commandment, Jesus? If you're a son of God, what is the greatest commandment? He said this. He said, love the Lord your God with all your mind, heart, and soul. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Guys, we love ourselves pretty good, don't we? Like, I know I love me a whole lot. Anytime I drive by Taco Bell, I say, treat yourself. You haven't had it in at least 4 hours. So you go over there and you go have that Taco Bell. You love yourself, boy. And so I do. And I love myself. And that's why the earth shakes anytime I take a step. It's because I love myself a little too much. But imagine if we pointed that energy. Imagine if we pointed that energy into letting other people know how important they are. Can y'all imagine that? Can you imagine how much more of a better, positive world this would be if we take that same energy and love somebody else with it? Can y'all imagine how much a better place this would be? That's the same kind of love God has for us to take to other people. So that's phase one. We have to understand that people are perfect and that relationships are going to break, because if we don't realize that, that brokenness is going to break us. So phase one, people aren't perfect, neither are relationships. Once you realize that, you're ready for phase two. You're going to be up here on the street. I want everybody to say this one with me, because this is so, so important. Phase two, say it with me. Healthy separation. Healthy separation. Guys, this is the hardest phase. Let's look back at our story and learn from these guys. Acts 15, verses 39 through 41. 39 through 41. Their disagreement was so sharp that they what? They separated. Barnabas took Mark with him and sailed. Paul and Silas left. They went throughout Syria to strengthen all the churches. They physically separated. They physically separated. They weren't all calling each other, texting each other at 2 a.m. Hey, what you doing? I'm thinking about you right now. They weren't doing none of that. They weren't stalking each other's Instagram feeds, seeing what they were up to. They weren't stalking each other's Snapchat stories, seeing who they're hanging out with, what they're doing, how life is going without them. They are totally disconnected from each other. And sometimes that's especially, I'm going to speak to the people who are dating in the room. That is the best thing you can do after you break up, is get healthy separation from that person. I'm going to burst a little bubbles. I know emotions are real, they're raw and stuff, but you are, all right, I'm not there yet. You can clap later. Hang on. I'm getting there. It's fine. Emotions are real and stuff. But remember, it's easy for us to think about what's going on now and affect us, a week from now, but think of long term when you're dating, when you're making those decisions. When you break up, you're just 16. Remember that. It might be detrimental to you right now, but that doesn't mean you're never going to get married. It doesn't mean God is done with you. It doesn't mean God doesn't have somebody for you. Just take a deep breath, chill a little, and let's get some healthy separation. Because you're never going to get over it. Thomas, this is where you clap. This is where you get that separation, because that's where your healing begins. They did. Now, don't miss this either. Don't miss this either. Their separation led to good. Did y'all catch that? Did y'all see how that story ended? Their separation led to good. They went out. They stuck to the same thing they were going to do. They just went their own different directions. And their churches there were strengthened, is what the Bible said. Churches were strengthened, people were saved, and I don't really have any way to prove this with the Bible or any other trusted source, but I believe that John Mark had God working in his heart during this time because of this situation where he realized how much his actions were affecting other people and the impact he could have. That's where God started working on John Mark to start writing his gospel. I don't have anything to back that up. That's just me thinking, reading in between the lines. But that's what happened because of a good, healthy separation. So I ask you guys something right now. Apply that to your lives. Is there something in your life right now that you just need to separate yourself from? Maybe? Okay. You can keep it to yourself. You don't have, it's rhetorical. I'm sorry, Thomas. Sorry. You don't have to answer out loud. You can keep this one to yourself. Write it in your notes. Nobody needs to know. What do you need to separate yourself from? Is it a person? Is it a certain place that you go to and there's just negative emotions or memories or anything? Maybe you need to, eyes up here. Maybe you need to separate yourself from social media. But you put yourself through more pain. Are you paying attention? Don't miss this. You put yourself more pain when you stay connected to that source of pain. Healthy separation is the key to moving on. And then the last phase is this. Phase 3, you feel that loss. Feel that loss. You guys ever seen the show Friends? You know it's going to be a good sermon when I bust out Star Wars and Friends in the same message. Amen. Friends is my all-time favorite TV show. All right? And so what happened? No, it's not SpongeBob. What happens is, you guys know the character Monica. Monica's a little OCD, a little crazy, but we love her anyway because, you know, she's great. Friends. So Monica, in the early seasons of Friends, Monica has a boyfriend named Richard, right? And so y'all remember Richard, mustache man, Tom Selleck. Yes. Or the orthodontist. He was an orthodontist. That is a true fan right there. He knew. No, he was an optometrist. You're right. I'm a fan. Optometrist. All right. Eyes up here. No. Right here. We're getting carried away. Right here. So Monica and Richard were dating. They were like they meshed really well. They were even talking about getting married to each other. Other than Ross and Rachel, they were like the iconic TV couple. And they were talking about getting married, but they had a very, very stark disagreement, kind of like how Paul and Marty was saying. But Monica did the right thing. She stuck to her guns. She wanted something that Richard did not. And so they separated as a result of that. They broke up. Their relationship ended. And you would have thought Monica's world crashed down around her. She was like wrapped up in the blanket, eating complete full gallons of ice cream, watching rom-coms all week long. Like that, it was that kind of break. You just do that anyway? Oh, I'm sorry. That's sad. And so that's the kind of breakup. That's the kind of breakup that I can't help but roast you guys. I'm sorry. You roast me, I roast you. It's a two-way street. So it was that kind of breakup. Or she's wrapped up like that. But at the end, you guys know Joey? What's Joey love? Food. He loves food. So Monica's a chef, and she sandwiches, yes, all that. Monica's a chef, and she likes to cook. She ends up getting her own restaurant as head chef later on. So the way she filled her loss was she started making jam. Her exact quote was, "I'm making jam till I get over my man." I thought that was a little weird. That's some 90s writing right there, but she had a plan. She filled her loss, and Joey was more than happy to help his friend get over that loss and eat all that jam. Guys, the point I'm trying to make, a silly illustration. The point I'm trying to make, you got to fill that loss, because whatever you separate yourself from is going to leave a void, and you got to fill that loss. So you can't just fill it with anything. You got to fill it with jam. No, that sounds good on paper, but not all the time. You got to fill it with something that's good. We'll say some things that we shouldn't fill it with, because those are typically the first things that we go to. You shouldn't fill it with, if you just broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, you do not need to immediately jump into another relationship. That is the worst. Pay attention. Eyes up here. That is the absolute worst thing you can do. Do not jump into another relationship. You do not fill it binge watching Netflix on your couch all day, not doing anything productive with your life. You don't need to do that all the time. You don't need to fill it binge eating, overeating, and stuff like that. That's my struggle. When I get stressed or when I get hurt, I eat. I binge watch and I eat. That's just my struggle. That's not good for you. That's not healthy. That is self-destructive behavior. You can't be doing that. You don't need to fill it with drinking. I don't care how good it makes you feel. I don't care how much it makes you forget. That is self-destructive. That is going to make you worse, give you more pain than you had to begin with. You do not need to fill yourself with those things. So what do you fill yourself with? I narrowed everything down into just one simple phrase, and I want you guys to write this down. Y'all ready? Hone your skills. Hone your skills. Avery, what the heck does that mean? I'm in the 6th grade. I have no idea what the heck that means. That means spend time making you better. Spend time making you better. So any athletes in the room? You got all this free time because you got all this stuff. Spend time making yourself a better soccer player. Spend time making yourself a better football, basketball, baseball player. Spend time right here. We're almost done. I'm almost done, guys. Spend